There is an invisible mathematical threshold where your money starts working harder than you ever could. And most people never even realize when they cross it. In this video, I will show you exactly how to calculate this number for yourself and why it is so important to understand. A 42-year-old walks away from a six-figure corporate job to teach yoga for $38,000 a year. Everyone thinks he's lost his mind. His retirement account sits at $750,000 and he stops contributing entirely. Meanwhile, a lawyer earning $320,000 annually with $1.2 million saved continues grinding 70-hour weeks, convinced he needs more. Here's what nobody's telling you. Both of these people crossed this invisible mathematical threshold where their money started working harder than they ever could. And you might be closer to that line than you realize. Most people spend their entire careers obsessed with how much they're saving each month. They track their 401k contributions, celebrate percentage increases, and stress about maxing out their IRA. But there's a specific moment in your wealth-building journey when those monthly contributions become almost irrelevant to your final outcome. It's the point where compound growth takes over so completely that whether you add another dollar barely moves the needle. The yoga instructor's $750,000 will grow to roughly $2.4 million by age 65 at a 7% return. No additional contributions needed. The lawyer's $1.2 million becomes $2.3 million in just 12 years, even if he never invests another penny. He's already mathematically guaranteed to exceed his target. He just doesn't know it yet. Your wealth building has two engines. The first is your contributions, the money you manually deposit from your paycheck. Early on, this engine does all the work. Without your discipline, nothing moves. The second engine is compound growth. At first, it's weak. You've got $10,000 invested, earning 7%. That's $700 annually. Nice, but meaningless compared to the $20,000 you're contributing. These engines don't stay equal. One gets stronger while the other eventually maxes out. At some precise point, the compound growth engine becomes so powerful that your contributions barely register. That inflection point determines everything about your relationship with work, risk, and freedom. And calculating it is simpler than you'd expect. Let me show you what this looks like with actual numbers. Say you're investing $20,000 annually. Decent by most standards. Assume 7% returns after inflation, which is conservative based on historical market data. When you've got $100,000 invested, that 7% generates $7,000 yearly. Your $20,000 contribution still carries 74% of the load. You're doing the heavy lifting. At $300,000, that same 7% produces $21,000. Suddenly, you're splitting the work 50-50 with compound growth. Neither engine dominates. Hit $500,000 and things shift dramatically. 7% now delivers $35,000 annually. Your $20,000 contribution, it's only 36% of your total portfolio increase. Compounding has become the primary force. At $1 million, 7% generates $70,000. Your contribution represents barely 22% of the annual growth. The portfolio does 3.5 times more work than your paycheck does. This progression explains why wealth accumulation feels agonizingly slow initially, then suddenly accelerates. You're not imagining it. The mathematics fundamentally change. Now here's the thought experiment that changes everything. What happens if you stop contributing at different milestones? Same assumptions. $20,000 yearly, 7% growth, targeting $1 million. Contributing the entire way takes roughly 23 years. That's the baseline. Stop at $100,000. Compounding alone needs 33 additional years to reach your million. Total timeline, 38 years. You added 15 years by quitting too early. Stop at $300,000 instead. Compounding carries you the rest of the way in approximately 18 years. Total time, 29 years, only 6 years longer than the baseline. Why? You hit critical mass. The absurd ones stop at $500,000. Compounding doubles it to $1 million in roughly 10 years. Total timeline, 25 years. Stopping halfway only delays your target by 2 years compared to contributing straight through. Halfway to your goal in dollars is nowhere near halfway in time. Once that compounding engine gains sufficient mass, your contributions become secondary. The machine you built starts running itself. Calculate your numbers this week. Find that threshold where your money starts doing the work you've been doing. Because the people grinding hardest aren't always the ones retiring wealthiest. Sometimes they're just the ones who never did the math to realize they'd already won. The difference between financial freedom and endless anxiety often comes down to one calculation you never made.